This is a special occasion, and I'm really glad you're all here for this. And I'd really like to thank Jay Dean for doing this day and for honoring the people that she's honoring. When we inducted her dad, what year was it? 2016. So he gave a wonderful speech, and I didn't know much about him in the beginning. But Billy Levy told me a lot, and when we did our research, we found out, what a phenomenal umpire official he was, but an even nicer man. So it was a wonderful night, and we're so glad that we inducted him when he was here to appreciate the night. So I'm going to call up Bill Levy now, who worked with Jay. Come on up and say a few words. Tell us a couple of funny stories, and there you go. This is Bill Levy, who's an inductee into our Hall of Fame. Thank you.
Thanks for putting me on the spot, Rennie. I knew Jay for many, many years.
How close to the mic?
He was a tremendous umpire, and he knew the rules better than anybody. I liked working with Jay because I knew if I screwed something up, he would be able to fix it for us. I've never had a problem people hearing me, Rennie. One time, he threw a coach out in a women's game, the old Claws League. And what had happened was it was an infield fly situation, and the ball was popped up into right field, and the infielders couldn't get to it, so Jay didn't call it an infield fly. Well, the defensive coach wanted an infield fly, and the two of them got into a nose-to-nose argument. Now the ball was caught, so now there's 2 outs. The bases are still loaded. There's another pop fly in the infield, and Jay calls an infield fly with 2 outs. That's a no-no. And I'm doing the bases, and I'm yelling, "No infield fly, no infield fly." Thank God the girl caught the ball, and we were out of the inning. But it precipitated another argument between the coach and Jay. And this time the coach was unloaded, and the two of them were still going at it. And I'm trying to get between the two of them, tell the guy to get away, get away. He's throwing you out. There's nothing else you can do. Finally, the guy left, thankfully. And luckily, it was late in the game, so we didn't have to go too much further. The guy was waiting for Jay when the game was over. We just walked right by him. And that's tough for Jay to do because he liked when there was arguments. He never lost one. And he loved his dogs. Jay Dean could tell you that. Did you ever dig the dogs up and move them? No, good girl. When he was living with Jay Dean down at the end of his life, he was more concerned with the dogs being buried in the backyard and somebody was going to dig them up. So she promised she would dig them up and bring them down to her place. Jay wrote for Referee Magazine for probably close to 30 years.
40.
How many?
Almost 40.
Almost 40. Time flies when you're having fun. And I would be at his house, and he would get phone calls from all over the world, people asking umpire questions. That's how well known he was, mostly through Referee Magazine. And he wrote for Referee Magazine for that length of time. And some of the articles he wrote went under somebody else's name because it was like he would write the whole magazine for that month. What other Jay stories do we have? He loves stories. Oh my God. He was telling me one time he got in a fight on the top of a freight train. And I'm going, this sounds like a movie I saw. But he swore he was on that train and he got in a fight and the guy fell off the top of the train.
It was at Hoffman's Playland.
It was at Huffman's Playland. And he was an adult and there was a little kid that he threw off.
He used to jump off.
Yeah, okay. He was a great guy. And if you've ever been to his house, he sold umpires equipment. He had equipment every place. You had, if you went down the hallway, you had to turn sideways because stuff was in the halls. But he knew where everything was. If you asked him for a hat of such, whatever you needed, they're right over here. I need a pair of pants. I need plate pants, and I need a pair of base pants. Those are over here. Knew where everything was, amazingly. And when we tried to clean that out, we had no idea where the stuff was. Just kept coming. Anything else you want to do?
Keep going.
No, I'm out of stories.
Drag racing.
Drag racing? Yeah, he raced cars. He used to race up and down Sunset, which is the street he lived on, much to the dismay of the people that lived there. In fact, what's that?
Depot Road, he used to race Cha-Cha Downey.
That's right.
Yeah. Depot Road and Gilroy.
And he always wore a beard because he was in an accident with one of his cars and he was burned. So you'd always see him with a beard. I'm out of stories, Ernie.
When you worked the plate, he was on the basis, did he critique you?
No,
No?
Not-
same way I wouldn't critique him.
How many games do you think you did?
Well, probably over a period of 20-some years when we were both working, I probably worked 50, 60 games with him. Never had an issue. He had the issues, I didn't. When I got in trouble, I'd call him. Jay, come here. This is what he's asking. No, that didn't happen. Any questions?
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks for putting me on the spot again. I should know better than come here.
I do that all the time. When we have our induction ceremony in November, I blindly pick people from the audience to sing God Bless America. And they have no idea this is going to happen. And we had Mike Eruzione sing it for our New York State Hockey Hall of Fame. And he looked at me and he goes, I've never been asked that before. And he sang God Bless America. Although I did have a ringer this year for New York State basketball. This lady locally lived in Albany, and she sang "Oh Canada" and "God Bless America," but she was like a professional singer. Well, normally we don't get the professional singers, and I can't sing a lick. But she was so good, and everyone like, whoa, because I made it seem like it was random, but we really had it all worked out in advance. I'm going to bring Jadine up because this is her special day, and this is her idea to put this plaque on the wall here to honor the people that are getting the scholarships. What a wonderful way to give Jay a legacy. And, it'll continue. This won't stop. And this plaque will stay on the wall forever. And this is the first time we've had anybody do this, which I think is wonderful. And Jadine, with that, I'll bring you up.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rennie, Elvira, and the New York State Baseball Hall of Fame for having me and my family here today to celebrate my father, Jay Miner, and to honor three extraordinary women, Shannon Starrett, Mia Lucy, and Madeline Peroni. A remarkable life is an understatement to describe my father's life. He basically was a local celebrity since his teenage years, starting out as a great athlete in basketball and baseball at Colony High School, becoming a professional funny car driver, an owner and self-proclaimed bouncer at a top nightclub in Albany, and then for his second act, an umpire, rules interpreter, a signer, umpire-in-chief at the New York State High School Championships, umpire equipment salesman, and a writer for Referee Magazine and many technical books on both baseball and softball officiating, all while spending 37 years as a bus driver for South Colony Central Schools. For those of you who attended his induction into the New York State Baseball Hall of Fame in 2016, he professed he spent $16 million to win $8 million racing cars. Jay loved to embellish his stories, and what a magnificent storyteller he was. I swear to you, he never had 16 million, he never had 8 million, he never had any millions. But what he did have was an immense passion for anything he immersed himself into, and the gift to tell stories with creative embellishment to keep his audience captive and wanting more. I grew up on the road traveling with the race car and the race circuit, living in the pits and basically on a truck. I saw his car explode, as Bill started to mention earlier. I saw his car explode on Labor Day 1973 in Jacksonville, Florida, in a night race. We were all convinced he was dead. He somehow managed to jump out of the car while it was burning before it crashed into the guardrail. The fire truck was down at the end of the quarter mile putting out the flames when suddenly we saw a figure emerge from the smoke, walking up the track in Hollywood style, with flames of his burning car looming behind his dark silhouette. I remember seeing his burned fire suit, his skin hanging from his arm, and the sizzle of his skin as he put his arm in an ice chest as he waited for the ambulance to arrive. I knew at that point, at the early age of 5, that my father was going to be one of the toughest hombres you'd ever meet. Unfortunately, his loving wife, Lori, my mom, became a casualty of the loss of his racing career. Being on the road is what kept her happy, and his new career after his racing days of running the Salty Dog Saloon on Madison, Ontario, and Albany caused her anxiety and depression, eventually causing her to take her life in February 1975. Not long after her death, the bar, which was now a disco, because that's what was happening at that time, so it was called the King of Clubs, had a fire and destroyed the business. My father and I were lost. He lost his racing career, his business, and his wife in 3 years, and had a 7-year-old me and an overbearing mother to deal with. To escape, as it was surely not to get rich, he started umpiring men's softball with Jim Berkery, which we were just talking about, for $6 a game at the TikTok softball in Colony behind the TikTok Tavern and the old Jack's Chinese restaurant on Central Avenue. He found his calling. In 1976, he became involved with umpiring and met some of you in this room, like Bill Levy and Jim Berkery, who are both here today. You guys became some of his best friends and truly helped renew a spark for his life. Thank you, because umpiring and you and your friendship truly saved him and gave him the ability to move forward after all that he had gone through. Umpiring and the rules became his new passion. He read everything he could about umpiring and would have me quiz him on the rule books, which he had memorized. Not overly exciting for a 9-year-old girl. I would say, what is Rule 7 in Section 2, Article C? And he would say in a swift monotone, without hesitation, the first batter in each inning shall be the batter whose name follows the last player who completed a turn at bat in the previous inning. I could give him any rule book, ASA, Federation Softball, High School Baseball, Little League, Babe Ruth, College, or Major League Baseball. He knew them all word for word. Then he started his process of modernizing mechanics, and many of his implementations are now a part of the core umpiring mechanics today. He lobbied for and is the reason in New York State is the only state that plays high school softball under, which used to be ASA rules, is now called USA softball rules instead of Federation rules. He felt that it was ridiculous to play 2 different sets of rules for players in the same seasons. I actually saw the perfect example of this last night, and I'm from Jackson, New Jersey, and my Little League team is actually playing in Bristol, Connecticut right now. And last night, they were in the extra innings in the 7th inning. They were losing 2-1, and they were the home team. And runners on first and third, 2 outs, and the runner on first decides to do a delayed steal. He gets into second, the runner breaks for home, the catcher throws down to second, the kid dives in, he's safe, the run scores. Everybody thinks it's a tie game now, bottom of the 7th. Umpires get together, he was out, because in Little League you can't dive head first, where in his travel ball, you can. So this is one of the perfect examples, and I was like, this is exactly why he didn't want you guys playing the 2 sets of rules, because of things like that. So due to the rule book quiz sessions and the return of the Yankees to prominence in the mid-1970s with heroes like New York State Baseball Hall of Fame members class of 2019, Thurman Munson, Ron Guidry, Goose Gossage, Bobby Mercer, and 2016 inductee with my father, Willie Randolph, I fell in love with the game as a 9-year-old. I started playing in Colony Girls softball in what I call a league of their own culottes, and evolved into a center fielder and leadoff hitter for Colony Central High School and the College of St. Rose. I umpired softball and coached Little League for my sons. And last week, at 57 years old, I am proud to say I won a Memorial Home Run Derby at my office for a coworker. So ladies, once you have the swing, you never lose it. The annual New York State Umpire School in Saratoga was one of Jabe's proudest achievements, where he could teach his passion on the field. I was one of the first players who helped create live playing action for the umpires. He worked so hard for the school, he literally lost a toe from it. So a lesson to all the umpires that are here: don't wear steel-toed shoes, plate shoes, when you're trying to teach an umpire school over a weekend. Another takeaway from his school is he would emphasize how you set the tone of the pregame meeting. He would always say, introduce yourself by name to the coaches. So, hi, I'm Jay. Never let them call you Blue, he would tell you. He was adamant in his declaration. I am not a color, he would say. If they call you Blue and the team is red, then you call them red. They won't like it and they won't dare call you Blue anymore. He was contributing editor for Referee Magazine for 40 years, starting out in softball and then eventually covering both baseball and softball when Carl Childress moved on. He was proud that he got to umpire at Doubleday Field in Cooperstown, and my son Jet, who's here today, followed in the proud family tradition and was able to play at All-Star Village a few summers ago in Cooperstown and hit 4 home runs. He spoke often of umpiring the 1984 Olympic baseball game, USA versus South Korea, with Mr. Kim from Seoul, Bob Stuhlmaker, the late Bob Goldberg, and Bill Levy, New York State baseball class of 2019, and featuring future Major League talent like Mark McGwire, Will Clark, and Hall of Famer class of 2012, Barry Larkin. The crew of Levy, Stuhlmaker, and Goldberg was his favorite 4-man crew, and he said if he had to be in a foxhole, he would want to be in with these guys. Bill once told me he was lucky enough to know my father for close to 40 years, and he never knew anyone who knew the game the way Jay did, especially the rules. Not only the pro rules, but softball, Little League, high school rules, and their differences. And as he said a few minutes ago, he was always happy to umpire with Jay because if he screwed anything up, Jay would fix it. Even to this day, though, he told me if something happens in a Yankee game, he really still wants to call his buddy and discuss it with him. The phone never stopped ringing at my house when I was growing up. It was tough being a teenage girl trying to talk to my boyfriend and to constantly have call waiting. We had call waiting back then. You didn't have the phones like you guys have now. To constantly have call waiting interrupt my call for an umpire with a rules question about a play that happened on a field or a discussion about an MLB play. We eventually had to get a second line, which at that time was unheard of. He was available in the summer from the mid-mornings until the middle of the night to discuss any play anytime. We had TVs everywhere, sometimes 3 or more per room, so he could walk through the house and never miss a pitch on any MLB game that was playing. He even had a TV in his Cadillac in the mid-1980s. He had a system long before the MLB network. I swear he brought TVs from motels that were going out of business, as I cannot remember a time when we had less than 20 TVs. Then, after my grandmother passed, as Bill mentioned earlier, came the umpire store. Saying the inventory took over the house is an understatement. I know my grandmother was rolling in her grave as to what became of her living room. He had a huge staff, as some of you know by the size of his letterhead. Being on that letterhead was his way of saying to you, you're important to him. I would joke to him his letterhead was longer than the messages he would send to me. He did not really make any money from the store because if he sold 1 pair of pants, he bought 3 more to replace him. But the store was good for him as it kept him and all his umpires visiting him. I also want to call out to Kathy Levy, who was on the letterhead as his seamstress. Bill, I don't remember what your title was. And I know, Jim, I think you were on the letterhead too, but we all were in some fashion on there. Anyone who shopped the store was sure to get a few good stories with each purchase. He had a mind like no other, and in his final years with us were sad as we witnessed the cruelty of Alzheimer's, as this person with my father, who had such a beautiful mind, lost everything with the inexorable slide into dementia. I had to constantly remind myself that he had a disease and he was no longer the person I knew and loved. Jay was able to watch my sons play baseball in his final years in New Jersey and, of course, critique the terrible New Jersey umpires. My sons both wore 52 in honor of last week's Hall of Fame inductee, CeCe Sabathia. We also had a guinea pig named CeCe, and 52 was a cool number when you have to go up to bat with the last name Drew. Jay was an ardent supporter of the umpires and would quietly call out their shortcomings in explicit detail on the sidelines to any parent who would listen. He would say to me, "I do not understand how these New Jersey parents are so quiet at these games." He went on to say that the boys players down there were really good, but the umpires were terrible. These kids deserve better umpires. To make you understand the level of ball in my area, my husband Tom played Little League with Jeff Musselman and Al Leiter and Mark Leiter. Chance played with kids who went in 2015 to Bristol, Connecticut, and 2017 to Williamsport, and so far 5 of them have been recruited in the last 3 years. Current Ray, Matt Theis, is from our town as well. Jets All-Star team finished second 5 years in a row to Toms River East Little League, starting the pedigree family members of Todd, Charlie, and Jeff Frazier dynasty. Todd's team won in Williamsport in 1998, and the offspring of Jets age went to Williamsport a few years ago. Our county in New Jersey has some of the best youth player development in the country. Umpire development, not so much. In fact, that man over there, my husband, at 9 years old, went up to bat against a 12-year-old Al Leiter with the bases loaded in the tie game in the final inning of the Little League Championship game in Berkeley Township. All year long, he squatted, giving the pitcher an impossible strike zone. Confident, though, Tom strode up to the plate and stands up for the first time all season. Strike one! The coach, the fans, everyone starts screaming, "Squat down!" He reluctantly abides and walks on the next 4 pitches, beating Al Leiter and winning the Berkeley Little League Championship. We always joke that walk never got out of Al's psyche, and when he had control issue in the bigs, that he was thinking of that damn little kid who squatted down and beat him at the championship in Berkeley Little League. Take a bow. So again, Jay, he always supported the umpires over the players and coaches. But at one of Chance's All-Star games, he could not take it anymore. We witnessed his one break from the umpire tribe. Jay was sitting with the most conservative mom on the team. I cringed when I saw my father, with his colorful tongue and gift of unfiltered gab, had planted himself in typical Jay fashion next to who he thought was an attractive blonde at the game. I was terrified at what stories he might start to tell her, not only for my own sake, but for Chance's sake, as she might ban her son from ever speaking to Chance again. The game goes on, and the plate umpire clearly has a disastrous strike zone. Kids on both sides are striking out at pitches way over their heads and in the dirt. Jay has been quietly complaining to the mom the entire game, but she was too polite, and he kept the game teaching her the minute details of calling the strike zone. The umpire was not properly in the slot, and he was using a balloon protector stance with an inside protector, and how the base umpire is out of position on each play, and where he should be standing, and even how to make a proper out signal. Finally, on a strike 3 call where the pitch was a good foot over Chance's teammate's head, Jay shrieks, "That's child abuse!" I shot him a look, and he said, "These umpires would be eaten alive at Colony Little League." For those of you who know Jay, this is Jay being Jay. And Dave Pierce played at Colony Little League, so he can tell you. It was a tough place to umpire. After Jay passed, the New York State, the NYSO Umpire School in Saratoga honored him with a dinner. Even though he umpired at all levels of softball and baseball, he always said varsity high school softball was his favorite level to officiate. We announced at the dinner that we would sponsor annually a scholarship in the memory of my father for one New York State senior softball player who plans to continue their education starting with the class of 2023. Our applicants are asked to write an essay on the impact softball had on their lives. Each year, my family scrutinizes each essay and vote for who we think the winner will be. Besides friendships, camaraderie, and teamwork, the most common theme in all the essays was that the sport gave each of you the gift of perseverance through failure. As you know, this is a game where the best players fail the majority of the time, and success is often defined by how they respond to those failures. The constant exposure to setbacks forces players to develop resilience, mental toughness, and a growth mindset. Ladies, this will be one of the most valuable takeaways you will have in your toolbox when you stop playing. I can tell you that firsthand because it helped me succeed and break the glass ceiling in the business world. For work, some of you know I go to China. I design products that you find housewares and things like in Home Goods or TJ Maxx and some of those types of stores. And in Asia, although they're very delicate, orchids symbolize resilience and strength, and they inspire perseverance in the face of adversity. Most think they bloom once and die. To the contrary, with a little care, they can bloom over and over again. So I want to share my love of orchids with each of you, Shannon and Mads and Mia. And I'm going to give you each an orchid to symbolize my admiration for the strength and ability each of you have to persevere. So now I'm going to introduce our first recipient. So our first recipient in 2023 was Shannon Starrett from Lake George High School. Come on up. We are proud of Shannon as she's continued her softball career at Roger Williams University in Rhode Island. Early in her high school career, Shannon was a top pitcher but had a life-changing injury. She worked hard due to her love of the game and persevered. Eventually, she became captain and a top offensive producer for Lake George. This past season, she was named 2025 New England Conference Player of the Year, posting a .386 batting average with 51 hits, 11 doubles, 3 triples, and 6 home runs with a .652 slugging percentage and a .457 on-base percentage. She was all-academic scholar athlete with a 4.0 GPA for 2 years, all-region conference player for 2 years, and the NFCA All-American Scholar athlete at shortstop. As Shannon is in the National Business Honor Society and runs the local social media page at Roger Williams Softball for the last 2 years. Shannon is a double major in marketing communications and sports management with a minor in graphic design. So she's not only a great softball player, but she's got brains too on there. So congratulate everyone. Help me congratulate Shannon Starrett, our winner for the 2024.
Do you want to say anything? You don't have to.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me all right? I have to say, yes, please, thank you. Jadine has been a wonderful light in my life, and when you came to my game and presented me with that award, I just started bawling. I can't thank you enough. And you've watched my games over and over again, and my mother, of course, is always posting on Facebook, so you're always able to follow. But this award and for Jay, it's beautiful, and what you have done for everyone, I can't thank you enough. So, and thank you in the stories. Oh my gosh, he was a character. So, I wish I got to meet him in person, but I get to meet him this way, and thank you. I really appreciate it.
Okay, please welcome up Mia Lucy from Averill Park High School, our 2024 winner. Okay. To be honest, my 12-year-old self would never thought I would be honoring a classy lassie. My old Colony Girls softball all-star teams found the Lassies to be a formidable opponent, and I have the utmost respect for their program that they have built, developing great softball players over the years. Mia played on a national team for the Empire State Huskies. Last summer, I was fortunate enough to see them play in New Jersey at Adventure Crossings near my home in Jackson, New Jersey. Mia was captain of her high school team and part of the 518 Futures. Majoring in criminology, she just finished her freshman year at Barry University in Miami, where she batted .333 with a .733 OPS and was a 4.0 club member and made the SSC Spring Commissioner's Honor Roll list. Mia's mother, Katie, was recently also named head coach of Hudson Valley and was one of my father's favorite players when she was at Rensselaer High School. So another one that's a great softball player with brains too.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Mia. Shannon, you pretty much covered it, everything this scholarship is. But Jadine has come. She supported me more than once at my games and just encouraged me to continue doing what I'm doing in school and on the field. And this scholarship at the end of my high school career really just showed me that all my hard work has paid off and continues to push me to strive for greatness in college too. So I'm really excited to see who continues to get this award, and I think it's really great what you guys have done with it. So thank you.
Now please welcome Madeline Peroni from Boston Spa High School, our 2025 winner. Madeline was captain and a four-year varsity athlete. She was the 2024 and 2025 First Team Suburban Council All-Star Team, First Team Times Union All-Star for first base, and MVP in the 518 Future Softball All-Star Game. She led the Scotties with an impressive .526 average with 13 doubles, 6 home runs, and 31 RBIs. She plays for the Capital District Fusion Travel Softball Program, and I was able to see her play in 2 tournaments and 1 showcase over the past few weeks in New Jersey. Madeline had an impressive 97 GPA while enrolled in AP classes. Madeline will play for Mercy University while majoring in pre-physical therapy. So congratulations. My phone out of the way for you.
Hi, I'm Madeline. I just want to thank Jadine and her family for being so welcoming. When I learned that I won this scholarship, I never heard of Jay before, and just hearing about his legacy and just the path he paved as an umpire and a member of the community, I'm just so thankful and honored to be represented in the shadow he's created, and I'm so thankful to have gained a family through this scholarship, and thank you for always supporting me. I'm so thankful for just everything that's come from this amazing opportunity.
A little taller than me. So again, I want to congratulate all these amazing women. You guys are really inspiring me, and I think the opportunities that you have are just so much greater than when I was playing in my culottes in the Colony Girls softball era and stuff like that, when they told us we couldn't slide and we're afraid, and then meanwhile we'd throw on sweatpants over our shorts so that we could slide, and tried to prove them and tried to do all those early days of softball that we were out there. But again, congratulations to you all. I know my father would be also proud of you all. So please, you guys, I want you to know that you guys are forever a part of my family and the New York State Baseball Hall of Fame. Thank you.